What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Just a Guy on My Lunch Break. My name is Corey, and I will go ahead and get started with the video. I will say right up front, forgive me if I sound very nasally. I probably sound nasally quite often, to be honest with you, because I do have allergies, and I live in North Carolina, which is a place where, it's kind of tropical here. You know, it's a warmer, temperate climate. So if you have any sort of allergies, probably not the best place to live. I wouldn't live anywhere else. It's worth it. I love it here. But no, I've been having one of those things. My wife and I both, we've picked up like a head cold or something like that, and it's one of those things where I'll be sitting there, and all of a sudden I'll feel a sneeze coming on, and I'll sneeze 3 times, back to back, and then all of a sudden I'm like nose and nasal cavities, everything just completely stopped up here. Not to get too specific, but the mucus is clear, so I know I'm not running a fever or anything like that. So I'm not contagious, so you don't have to worry about catching it through the phone or anything. But anyway, I probably do sound a little bit nasally. That's the reason. All right. So I talk about Kratom on here. We also talk a little bit about life and just everything surrounding Kratom, everything surrounding life, all of it. You guys know I delve into all kinds of crazy shit on here. So I got one of those comments yesterday where it was a good comment, great comment actually, and it really is one of those comments where I said to myself, okay, now this is a good teachable moment. All right. Not necessarily just for this person, but for all of us. You know, this is a good teachable moment where I can take this comment and expand on it and kind of give a different perspective, because this comment showed an opposite perspective of what a lot of us see on here, right? A lot of what we see on here is people coming on and, man, my Kratom use has just gotten out of control. I'm taking 3-4 extracts per day. I'm taking 5 OPMS black, extract pills per day. And then I'm taking powder in the evening. And man, I'm taking up to 70, 80, 100 grams of Kratom per day. I mean, I've seen it all on here. A lot of times people who are searching up, Kratom withdrawals, and are looking for those sort of talks, when they're on YouTube searching up those things, that's why they're searching that shit up. Because they've got some shit going on with Kratom where they're like, damn, I've taken this too far. I've tried stopping once or twice, and then the withdrawals were just deplorable. I was like, damn, I'm in a bad spot here. I'm in a tight spot, right? And then people start getting on YouTube, well, let's look up, Kratom withdrawals, or let's look up this, or look up that, and, getting ideas and support and all that. That's what the channel's for. It's a platform for that. But every once in a while, someone will happen up on the channel, and it feels like they're just in the beginnings of their Kratom journey, right? And we don't always get to see that. A lot of times we don't get to see it until people are freaking neck deep in quicksand, and they're like, help me, please. This person's like, maybe ankle deep. They're at a place where they could probably just step to the side and go ahead and get out of it if they wanted to. And we talk about, perspective being everything on here, and this particular comment just shows that. So without further ado, I'm going to get to the comment. This is from @VeganDolls. Well, first let me set it up. So this comment was a comment on my video from yesterday where I was doing a Kratom taper update. I talked about agmatine, and I talked about my Kratom taper update being at 17 grams. So I did 17 grams again yesterday. Just to cut that short, I'm kind of stabilized on the 17 grams right now. So tonight I'm looking to get by on at least 16.5, maybe 16, just depending on how I feel. I don't know for sure yet, but I'm planning to land somewhere in the 16 and a half range. So that'll knock it down just a little more. And that's all I'm really going to say about my taper. I've beat that dead horse just to death over and over for the past few days, so I'm not going to keep going over that. But At Vegan Doll says 17 grams, question mark. Damn, okay, well that makes me feel better. I'm taking max 5 grams per day, if that. I don't really have any plans to stop. I didn't know that it was bad for you. Is there a reason I should stop? Or do you think my 5 grams a day is little enough to not worry about? At Vegan Dolls, that's a great question. And I'm definitely not laughing as in, I mean, you're the wiser than most everybody on here. A lot of us are like, damn, I'd like to be at 5 grams. That'd be nice. But no, perspective is everything. And it just goes to show you, I talk about on here all the time how people are at different places with this Kratom journey, right? And this is a perfect example. This is somebody who's just now stepping into it, you know, to the point where they're saying stuff like, damn, I didn't even know it was bad for you, you know? And I'm not saying it necessarily is. I think that sentence is relative as well. You know, I think 100 grams a day is bad for you. I think 50 grams a day is bad for you. You know, even 16, 17 grams per day like I'm taking is probably more bad for you than 5 grams. And 2 grams would not be as bad as 5. So it's, you know, I think there is definitely relativity regarding all of it, but it just goes to show we're not all at the same place, and our headspace is not all the same on this Kratom thing, which is why I can't stand when people get on here and start pointing fingers and, whoa, well, that's stupid, you do that, here's what I do, and because I do that, this is what you need to do, and if you're doing it any other way, then it's not gonna be the right thing. That's why I get frustrated with that, because you have the 70 gram per dayers that are spending, you know, $500 a week on Kratom, and then you have these people barely taking a measly 5 grams. So you get all this shit. You get a full spectrum. All right. But anyway, I want to talk about it. And I did leave a comment to this person as well. And I felt like the best thing to do would be to just read the comment that I commented back. All right. And it goes like this. Good question. I'll address this question on my video later today, so make sure you check it out. You must be relatively new to Kratom, it seems. Meaning, I've had plenty of people pop on the channel and say they are taking an excess of 70, 80, up to 100 grams per day. So while 17 may seem high to you, it's pretty low in comparison with many others. My wife, by example, uses Kratom daily, but only to the tune of about 2 grams per day. So I get where you're coming from. Now, I'll say this to help answer your question. Kratom is known for increasing your tolerance. And I didn't really word that correctly. The best way to say that is, if you take Kratom regularly, eventually your tolerance to it, being Kratom, will increase. Is kind of what I meant to say there. In other words, eventually with daily use, you'll build a tolerance to which 5 grams will not affect you the same anymore. Eventually, you'll start saying to yourself, I don't really feel this the way I once did, and you'll likely bump it up to 6 grams, then eventually 7, then 8, so forth and so on. It's a progression. By example, I didn't start out at 17 grams 4 years ago when I first discovered Kratom. And I want to kind of pause right there for a second. And I will read about it, but, you know, I come from a background of, you know, having a prior addiction to pain pills, like opiates, right? So Kratom is not my first time to the rodeo in terms of dealing with something that gives you like an opioid-like effect, okay? I know a lot of people don't consider it an opioid, but it absolutely does act on the opiate receptors, which, in my opinion, if it acts on the freaking opiate receptors, it's an opioid. I don't care what you say. You know, I mean, there's all kinds of debates about the fact that it has tons of other alkaloids in it. It has the energy component. It may not be as potent. It's a partial antagonist as opposed to a full antagonist. So you're not going to get as much of the opioid kickback as you would for something like a pain pill. I get that. It may not be as strong. It's still a freaking opioid. And I know it's not classified as one, but, you know, Geez, man, semantics here, semantics. All right. But when I first started taking Kratom several years ago, I was doing like a couple of capsules in the morning, a couple of capsules in the afternoon. Then I might take 4 capsules in the evening. What's that? 8 capsules per day. What's that? 5 grams per day, 6 grams per day, something like that. I'm telling you, for the first probably 4 to 6 months I was taking Kratom, that's about how much I was doing. Well under 10 grams per day, possibly under 5. It was close. And I would say I had been on it for probably a good 6 months consistently of daily use before I went over, 6-7 grams. And so, and then here I am now running this channel talking about Kratom, and less than 2 months ago, I was having days where I was taking 40 up to 50 grams of Kratom per day. Mind blown. Less than 4 years ago, or about 4 years ago, started out 3-5 grams per day. And I was good with that. I was okay with that. I had some positive benefits from it, some effects of it, but ultimately, as the Kratom ball rolls, that tolerance begins to increase, and then that 3 grams doesn't hit you like it used to. The 5 grams doesn't hit you like it used to. So you start to increase it. And so I have, and I know a lot of you have probably been in that situation. And they say here 17 grams. Damn, okay. But hey, I didn't start at 17 grams. I'm at 17 grams now, 4 years in. But I would be, and I haven't heard any more back from this person yet. They've not responded to my comment. And they could come back and say, well, damn, I've been taking it for 5 years and I'm still at 5 grams. I mean, if that's the case, then I'll have to stand corrected on a couple of things. But my guess is 5 grams per day, and some days you don't even go up to that. My guess is you're either not using it regularly, like daily, or you haven't been using it for that long. Okay. I would say if you're at 5 grams per day, you're probably been using less than 6 months. That would be my guess. I could be completely fumbling the ball on this. I don't know. This person may respond to me and say, oh no, I've been using for 2 or 3 years, and that'll change some of the things that I think and see as far as how your tolerance for Kratom raises over time. But either way, let me keep going. So yeah, I talked about here to her how I started out at 3 to 5 grams per day. Eventually with daily use, it began to increase. With that said, I don't ever preach against Kratom. It's just not my style or what my channel is about. It's more about raising awareness of the potential pitfalls and concerns surrounding Kratom. But each person is an adult and must make their own decisions regarding it. One thing I will say, and I don't know if you have a background with opiate use, but opiate withdrawal sucks. Meaning, if you become dependent on Kratom from long-term, daily, regular, and consistent use, you'll find if you go to stop, you'll develop insomnia, restless legs, low energy, depression, anhedonia, runny nose, and even diarrhea, just to name a few of the symptoms. So my next question for you is, how long have you been using it? ? Also, have you ever tried to completely stop? So I'm gonna stop there again. A lot of people in their beginning stages, they haven't been using it for that long. They're like, oh, it's good. I don't understand what's the big deal. I didn't realize it was a bad thing, and I'm only taking a few grams per day. But here's the thing. If you don't realize that it's a bad thing, or it could potentially have negative or dire consequences for you, then what reason do you have to stop? You don't have a reason to stop. So you're just like, damn, this feels good. Let me just keep taking it every day, right? And so you get sometimes comments like this, and then what you find out is that person has never tried to stop because they haven't had any reason to try to stop, because in their mind, what they're doing is fine, it's harmless, there's no point in them changing that, right? And I'm not saying there is a reason to change it. Admittedly, 5 grams per day, the quicksand, you're barely standing in it. You're probably barely ankle deep at this point. So if you are able to, for some reason, keep it there and still enjoy the effects of kratom and stuff like that, you may not really have a problem. You know, and I've used my wife as an example a million times on here. She takes only a couple of grams per day. And I have no doubt, because she's done it before when I quit, I have no doubt that if she had to stop right now, she would not have any physical side effects. She wouldn't lose an ounce of sleep at night. She wouldn't have the restlessness. She wouldn't have, she doesn't have all that because she keeps her doses so low, right? But my wife also doesn't have any previous addiction history. I do. You know, it's quite a difference. And if I have time, I found an article that is very right on par with this, right up the alley of this conversation that we're having right now. And I'm going to try my best to get to that today, if I can speed things along, which, as you know, is very difficult for me. Let's see. Okay, so I said also, have you ever completely tried stopping? Because that experience will really tell the tale of your level of physical dependence, because you absolutely can become physically dependent on kratom, which makes it increasingly hard to stop if ever you decide to. Now, if you're able to continue to use the lower amounts, you may be one of the rare few, like my wife, who has really never developed a significant dependence issue with kratom, and stopping may not be very much of a challenge for you. If so, that's great. There are those people out there. But there are also millions who have gotten in over their heads before they knew it, because kratom does hit the opiate receptors in the brain, which is why it's enjoyable to you. And anything that attaches to those opiate receptors, if used consistently over long-term basis, can cause physical dependence, including intense withdrawals if quitting or completely lowering your dose. So just be cautious here. The fact that you were shocked by my 17 grams shows me that you're probably a relative newbie to kratom, to the kratom world, because it is known in the kratom community that many use at much higher amounts than 17 grams per day. In fact, in comparison to the average daily user of kratom, I would say 17 grams is probably low to moderate. But the fact that you are new is completely okay. In fact, I would say that plays in your favor in this situation, because at 5 grams per day, your dependence should be pretty low. And if you were to experience withdrawals, if you decided to quit, I would say they would be mild at best. Best thing, I think, for you to do is do a test run. And she's not the first, I'm assuming this is she. Vegan Dolls, I haven't looked. If you are not a female, I do apologize for saying that. I'd hate to F up a pronoun or something in 2024. Not saying that you have pronouns. I've not looked on your channel. I don't know if you're a man, woman, or other. I don't know. So don't take offense to that. Best thing for you to do, I think, is do a test run. Try not to use kratom for 3 or 4 days and see how you feel, physically and mentally. That will tell a lot. Hope this helps. Don't forget to watch my video today. I'll further address your comment. Sorry for the response being so lengthy, but perspective matters, and I felt like your comment warranted a different perspective from a more seasoned, heavier user. And of course, it was all meant to help you. Thanks for engaging with the channel, by the way. So at Vegan Dolls, I hope that was a good conversation in the direction of something that can maybe help you. And, you know, you asked me the question here. You said I didn't know it was bad for you. Is there a reason I should stop, or do you think my 5 grams per day is little enough not to worry about? The answer is yes and no. Do I think 5 grams per day is astronomical and that's going to, you know, put you 6 feet under in a matter of 30 days? No, obviously not. That's a pretty small amount, pretty benign amount. But kratom, in and of itself, as it proceeds, just like any other opiate-like substance out there, you will develop an increased tolerance to this eventually, okay? So that 5 grams that you've been comfortably sitting on for however long it is that you've been sitting on it is not going to remain that way forever if you're using daily. right? If you're using daily, especially if you're using more than once a day. Now, if you're a person that only takes it like once a day and you're not cresting over 5 grams or whatever, I think a lot of it depends on whether you have that addict mentality or not. A lot of us people we know we're addicts like to sit and point fingers at people who aren't addicts and say, well, I couldn't do it because we don't want other people to be able to do what we couldn't do, right? Like, well, I couldn't do that shit. I couldn't take 5 grams per day once a day. I couldn't do that, so I bet you can't either. Not necessarily, bro. Not necessarily. I couldn't do what my wife does. No way in hell. No way in hell I could take 2 grams per day of Kratom and be happy with that on an ongoing basis. No freaking way. My tolerance for stuff like opiates is entirely too high. And that's because I have a background with opiates, right? Your body remembers these substances when they start to, your opiate receptors, your brain, your body, everything remembers, your experiences with that. And immediately when you take something like that, it ties it to those memories. And you're like, oh, hello, my old friend. Hello, euphoria. Hello, opiate high. I love you. I love you. I mean, immediately, and it could have been 10, 15 years since you've used it. Was the case for me when I found Kratom 4 years ago. Before 4 years ago, I had been years without taking pain pills, and had been long periods of time without, I've talked about that I took a couple here and there from time to time, but I never had like a regular supply of them. And because of that, you would think my tolerance would have decreased, right? And I'm not saying it didn't decrease, technically, but I also, because of my past experience with it, my body was able to get there to where my tolerance was higher a lot faster than somebody who was a new user of Kratom, right? So immediately, inside of 4 to 6 months, I realized, man, this 3 to 5 grams ain't cutting it anymore. So that's the part that I want you to be aware of, and that's the reason that you see a lot of the stuff that you do online about Kratom and how Kratom can be incredibly addictive depending upon who you are. But listen, it does depend on who you are, and I want everyone to be aware of that. It's all relative. It's all about perspective. Some people are able to take lower amounts. Some people, opiates don't even hit them the same way as they do other people, which takes me and is a good segue into this article that I found. So check this out. I don't know if I'll read this whole thing, but it is quite interesting. And this is from the British Journal of Anesthesia, looks like, a 2019 study. Opioids are known to spark feelings of euphoria in users, but does everyone really share the same experience? Opioids jumpstart the brain's reward system, provoking a burst of pleasurable feelings along with a dizzying, drug-induced high. At least that's what scientists used to think. But mounting research suggests that the average person doesn't reach this euphoric state on opioids. Interesting. So all these people out there that are going around pointing fingers at everybody, well, you shouldn't be using that. Well, you shouldn't be using that much. Well, you shouldn't be using. I got addicted to it, and I ended up taking 500,000 grams per day. So I know you can't do it. Slow your roll. Everybody's not the same. All of our chemical makeups are not the same. But anyway, it goes into that. So let me not sidebar too much. In fact, wait, let me see. Mounting research suggests that the average person doesn't reach this euphoric state on opioids, particularly not the first time they try it. In fact, people who are not addicted to opioids may feel subjectively worse after taking the drug, according to cognitive neuroscientist Siri Leknes. I'm sorry, that's Leknes. That's a funny name. Damn, I hope I can continue after reading that name. Siri Leknes. Lickness. 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 Oh my gosh. Okay. Lickness. Lickness. That sounds so nasty. All right. Sorry. I think that the notion that opioids always cause pleasure is a myth, said Leckness. All right, I'm skipping the dude's name from here on out. No more saying that dude's name. Something about that guy's name just makes me chuckle. I can't do it. So thinking about the notion that opioids always cause pleasure is a myth, says Leknes, who is the principal investigator at the University of Oslo in Norway. An individual's reaction to opioids depends on many interwoven factors, such as where the person is, their mood, previous drug exposure, genetics, and metabolism, she explained. Oh, it's a she. Leknes is a she. If scientists assume that opioids spark euphoria in most people, they run the risk of overlooking important differences in how individuals react to the drugs, whether on the operating table or in the addiction clinic. However, that's not to say that addiction is solely driven by the amount of pleasure, said Keeluck, a clinical psychologist and psychiatry professor at Yale School of Medicine, who was not involved with the new study. Not everyone experiences the same level of euphoria with opioids, and not everyone that uses opioids will develop an addiction or opioid use disorder. Keeluck told Live Science in an email. Scientists are still unpacking exactly why individuals react differently to the drugs. Okay? So everybody who tries a Vicodin is not going to like it the way you liked a Vicodin or the way I liked a Vicodin. You know, I remember the first time I tried one, I was just like, damn. I will have this every day, every moment for the rest of my life, please. Please, can I just feel like this every second from sun up to sundown every day for as long as I live? That'd be good. Thank you very much. I mean, that's how it affected me. Just everything was better. Everything was great. It just completely flipped a switch in my mind where I was just like, damn, this is great. And my nose is running like a mofo right now. I wish a little bit would go to the other nostril. This is completely my right nostril just stopped up. My left one is completely clear. A 2008 study backs these preliminary findings, having found that infusions of fentanyl, wow, that sounds scary, left healthy volunteers feeling negative and ill at ease rather than euphoric. That doesn't make sense. Negative and ill at ease rather than euphoric. Okay, maybe it does. Recent studies of other common opioids, such as oxycodone, have also challenged the idea that drugs cause most people to experience pleasure, showing instead that many participants disliked the drug's effects. In previous work, Leknes's I'm so sorry, y'all. Oh, versus Leknes, now it's Leknes's. Okay. I lost my place. Lab found that the opioid morphine only modestly improves a healthy person's mood when it elicits any change at all. Of course, anecdotally, Leknes said some patients report enjoying their opioid high on the operating table. Some describe the sensation as similar to champagne feeling, referencing the sensation of getting a teeny bit tipsy after drinking sparkling wine. See, To me, it's nothing like that. Not even similar. Not even similar. 1,000 times out of one. I mean, the stark difference between an opioid buzz and an alcohol buzz, to me, they're not even on the same plane. And if you put one or the other in front of me, 1,000,000 times in my life, all 1,000,000 times, I'm going to choose the opioid. Every time. Every last time. But I know people that would choose alcohol over opioids. And they've tried opioids. They've tried it. It's just not their thing. You know, opioid or alcohol's their thing, right? It's just, we're all like wired differently. Which is why I get so bent out of shape when people come on here and start, we'll do this, you get to Come on, man. We're all so much different. Practice some freaking diplomacy up in here. You know, everybody ain't like you. God, it's such a pet peeve for me. I'm gonna skip forward on this a little bit. Okay, so far most opioid research has been conducted with current or former addicts as participants, Leckness said, with some studies going so far to only include participants who say they enjoy taking the drugs. This bias in the literature may make opioid-induced euphoria seem commonplace, Leckness said, but she wondered whether the average person finds bliss while hooked into an opioid trip. Leckness and her colleagues studied about 160 patients that reacted to remifentanil, okay, before undergoing minor surgery. Study co-author Gernot Ernst, an anesthesiologist and neurobiologist at the University of Oslo, and blah, 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 blah. Good God. Give everybody credit. Make sure you give everybody every ounce of credit. God, dude, just post their whole resume on here, dude. Like, where'd they go to elementary school? Where'd they go to high school? What was their grade point average? Hi, good God. Okay, they're smart people. They're scientists. We get it. Asked the participants to rate how good and how anxious they felt before the drug was administered. 1 to 2 minutes after the infusion, the drug took full effect. Ernst asked the same questions again, as well as how much the patients liked the drug's effects, what level of drug-related discomfort they experienced, and how high they felt. Leckness once reviewed the same dose as part of a different study and recalled feeling as though the room were spinning as a wave of warmth rushed through her body. Across the board, the patients reported feeling high after receiving the remifentanil. I struggle with that word. But on average, they actually felt 0.5 points worse on a 10-point scale after taking the drug. In other words, the high they felt was unpleasant rather than euphoric. Are you hearing this? This is just the difference in person to person to person. All people end up experiencing it at some point, whether it's opioids, pain pills, kratom, whatever it is, but we all don't feel the same way to it, right? So it says here, they actually felt worse on the 10-point scale after taking the drug. This dip in well-being appeared steeper in individual patients who had never taken opioids before, okay? Both ratings of liking and disliking the drug effects hovered around 5 on the 10-point scale. A small subset of people did report feeling slightly better after the drug was administered, but even these participants still gave the experience of 5 out of 10 on the liking scale. In other words, clearly no one reached euphoria on the operating table in the course of the study. So anyway, I thought there were some good tidbits in this article that, you know, kind of explain that we're all not the same here. We are all not the same here. You know, what is good for you may not be so good for me, and vice versa. And so that's why I'm so big on this channel about it being an open platform. And, you know, I think one thing we all can agree on is that if you are self-proclaimed in a bad spot with kratom or anything else, you know that. more than anybody else knows that in your life. You feel it. You wake up with yourself. You live with yourself 24/7. You go to bed with yourself. You know that. Nobody else needs to tell it for you. So if you know that and you've realized that, that's on you to make that decision. And when you make it, I'm here to support you. If you hadn't made it yet, I'm here until you do. If you do. Because you may be one of those people that don't need to make it. You're good. You're not an addict. Congratulations. Love you guys. Have a good day. Peace.